Exile, you have wandered far to arrive at the shores of my lake.
Hi, Zizaran here with another video, and today we are going to talk to you about one of my favorite ascendancies that has been in the dumpster for quite a while. It is indeed Trickster, which is getting a big rework, so let's get into it. So, Trickster has a bunch of new nodes, a lot of changed nodes. Let's take a look at them, and then we'll talk a little bit about the overall direction and changes to Trickster, and whether it is good or not, or good enough. So, first off, Heartstopper has been changed, but it is still sort of problematic. So if we look at the old Heartstopper, we can see here that it has every 10 seconds take no damage over time for 5 seconds. So that was 100% less damage over time, but it's not always on. Now, this sort of has the same problem. It is a permanent buff. It is 40% less damage over time and 40% less damage from hits every 5 seconds. But I personally really dislike anything that's not consistent. I don't want to sometimes be saved and be really tanky and then sometimes die. I would rather have 20% less damage and 20% less dot damage all the time than 40% sometimes. It is not nothing, like it is still substantial, it will save you. But it will also let you die sometimes, and it'll make damage incoming feel inconsistent, and that will make it harder to react to it for things like potions, etc. So I'm not a huge fan of Heartstopper, even though it is some impressive numbers. Next up, we have Polymath. Now, this is a really cool node that interacts with your masteries, and more importantly, each different type of mastery. So if you just have 5 life masteries in your build, you'll only get 3% more damage. But if you're playing a build that's rocking 8 different masteries, well, then you're getting 8% life, energy shield mana over time, and 21% more damage. So it could be really cool and definitely a great way to encourage taking a lot of different masteries. Now, most builds will be probably sitting on 4 or 5 different types of masteries on average, so you're getting at least 15% more damage out of this, plus a bunch of recovery. 5% life, energy shield, and mana on kill is definitely nothing to sniff at. Or, I don't know. You know what I mean. It's a decent amount, but it is also only for mapping. There are builds that use like on kill for bosses using Wormblast and stuff like that, but you're probably not going to do that. Is that enough? I don't know. I do think this node is quite good, and there's a very clear reason for taking different masteries here, and especially if you're able to pump out like 24 or 27 more damage. Maybe a little bit ambitious here, but, you know, it's a very cool and interesting node. Swift Killer. This now has increased charge duration and plus 2 charges. However, there is no longer any form of generation on kill or on channeling. I don't feel like it would have been overpowered to just keep those. So, I don't know. This is a bit... I think just having a plus 2 and keeping the generation would have been fine. Because it is losing its damage per frenzy charge. But it is plus 2 max frenzy charges, which is substantial. To put it in reference, this is the same as 8% more damage, plus, you know, like attacking cast speed. So, not bad. But is it as strong as the other nodes? Next up, we have One Step Ahead, and this is particularly strong in things like Gauntlet whenever I'm feeling sadistic and I put on loads of movement speed and action speed or attack speed. So it would be really good for that, and really good for ignoring like haste on maps. However, what is nearby? We don't know whether this is 10 radius, 30, or 100. So I've never been a big fan of nearby. We're just going to have to play it by ear, because if it's anything less than slightly over screen wide, it's pretty bad. Souldrinker. Now this is very strong. You're getting ES overleach like Slayer, but for energy shield. So that is pretty cool. I'm pretty interested in that. I do think that is actually pretty cool. Especially the fact that you can also do Escape Artist and Ghost Shrouds, and that could be very strong energy shield recovery. And honestly, I think the problem with Trickster is that it doesn't really have enough interesting damage stats right now, and it is almost purely defensive. Souldrinker, I think that is very cool with the Slayer Overleach. We have Escape Artist, maybe needs a little buff, maybe make it 6 and every 5. I think it could do with a little bit of love. But yeah, it is just a very defensive ascendancy now. Bellabreaker as well. This is really interesting for a few reasons. Obviously, the prevent 10% of spell suppression damage while on full energy shield. This works really well with Souldrinker and you always almost wanting to be full. However, it does also work with something else, and that is having full energy shield bypass, and then you just permanently take 10% less damage from spells. And I think there's a mastery or something where you take 5% less, so 65% of the damage mitigated from spells. That is pretty cool. And 20% spell suppression is going to be pretty great now with the how much we're losing. I do think it's a good direction, and it's definitely not one of the it's not the worst ascendancy anymore, but it is so defensive. It will be used. I don't think it's going to be a top 3 or top 5 ascendancy. I think I initially thought that. I was like, oh, these all seems really good, especially this one. I think it is just lacking a little bit still. But we're gonna have to see. Maybe people come up with some really cool combos. It's just slightly lacking. Like, having generation here would be big. This one is cool. One step ahead is great. I think part of the problem here is that your action speed is at least 108 of base value. That means that if you get action speed on your boots, say you get 6% action speed on your boots, you do not have 114. You just have 108 still. Because it's like lore wave, or well, it's actually not like lore wave, but it just guarantees 108. It doesn't give you 8. So if it gave you at least 108 minimum and gave you +8, that would be a lot more interesting. So that if you had 8 action speed from other sources, you'd have 116. Because now you need to get 8 action speed, and then anything past that would be additional. It would be cool to see if we use it at any league starters. I haven't decided yet. Just wanted to make a video about my thoughts on Trickster. It definitely is a step in the right direction though, and maybe they'll buff it more in the future if it is underused. So thanks for watching. Sub if you liked the video. Good luck in the next league, and more importantly, try to die less than I do.